Did you know that in South Korea, fans are often sold with timers on them? This is because it's believed by many South Koreans that if you fall asleep with an electronic fan blowing on you in a small enclosed space, like a bedroom, it can kill you. And in Vermont, you might come across an odd diagonally leaning window, which the locals refer to as witch windows. Because of course, witches apparently are unable to fly their broomsticks through these diagonal windows. And if someone bites their tongue while eating in Romania, it's because they recently told a lie. No matter where you're from, we all have our superstitions, whether it has to do with black cats, walking under a ladder, or breaking a mirror. The funny thing is that we know that they're silly and ridiculous, but we still try our best to follow them anyway. So why wouldn't the characters we play in Dungeons & Dragons and Starfinder also have a lot of little quirks and superstitions too? That's what we're talking about today. So I hope you guys are ready. Let's get started. Welcome, adventurers! What's going on, guys? My name is Cody. This is Taking 20, a channel about all things role-playing games. And today we're talking about adding a little more depth to our Dungeons & Dragons 5e characters and our fantasy worlds by sprinkling in a little superstition. Because the world is superstitious. And if we can look at how many superstitions we still have today in a world where we can literally communicate with the other side of the globe in a live video chat with a simple internet connection and a webcam, then we can only imagine how strongly people must have believed in their superstitions passed down from generation to generation, even just a few centuries ago, with no outside influence to call them in question. So if we're talking about a world where magic exists and gods are tangible, but often villages are isolated from one another and town walls keep out literal boogeymen, then I think it's only fair to assume that superstitions might play a much bigger role in our NPCs' daily lives than we might initially expect. So if we are constantly striving for that truly immersive world and those incredibly deep and rich characters, then we should give them a few odd and quirky superstitions. So here are a few tips and tricks for you players and dungeon masters out there that will help you add a little superstition to the game. Number one is the simple ritual or token. I'm looking at you specifically, players, though you game masters out there can certainly use this for your NPCs as well. This is something that your character does that they believe brings them good fortune. In essence, the lucky rabbit's foot, though it doesn't have to be just something that they carry around in their pocket or wear around their neck. Maybe it's as simple as a gold coin your great-grandfather was said to have stolen from a dragon's lair, and it's brought you and your family luck for generations. Or maybe it's something as simple as facing east when you sleep, so that the good fortune of a new day's first delight is in front of you and not behind you. Or maybe you even add a single blade of grass to any meal you eat to keep the food from rotting in your belly. Giving your character a silly and fun ritual or token that brings good fortune is a great way to add a little personality to your character and give you something else to roleplay that doesn't come off as cliche. So the next time your party makes camp and your dungeon master asks what everyone is doing, instead of the generic answer of, "My fighter is sharpening his blade," or "My wizard is reading his spellbook," you can tell him or her that your character is nervously flipping his lucky family coin between his fingers while he walks 3 times around camp, or that she's digging into her bag for an olive leaf to drive away the spirits of bad dreams. Number 2 is the bad omen. Almost every society has something that they view as bad luck or an ill omen. So if your group comes across a bridge that they must cross at dusk, which many have heard is a week's bad luck according to some halfling societies, how does your character react? And what happens when they are forced over the bridge by a pursuing band of hobgoblins? Do they panic for the next few days? Do they suddenly become jumpy at every animal sound at night? Do they need to ward off the bad luck by tying a piece of rope around their ankle for the next week? There are a lot of great things to roleplay here that don't have to take away from the tone of the game, that can give your character a little more character. And that brings us to number 3, which is don't let superstition become tedious. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Okay, who wrote this? That's not how you use that. That's not a thing. Tony? While I always think that it's great to bring a little levity to a game like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, where, let's face it, things can be a little grim, it's important not to get too carried away with this stuff. The worst thing that can happen is if your funny little character quirk suddenly starts to bog the game down and detract from the tone that the game master is trying to set. Also, guys, don't let a character's superstition become a hassle for the group to deal with. In our bad luck bridge crossing halfling example, your character should still cross the bridge with the rest of the party to avoid being captured or killed. And if you've already talked a few times about your character's evening rituals before they go to sleep, it's okay to assume that they will continue doing them, right? You don't have to bring them up 2 to 3 times a session. After a couple of sessions of that, people will start to get tired of you talking about them very quickly. Number 4 is a tip for you dungeon masters and game masters out there, and that's to keep things rural. Rural. That's to say that in general, the farther away from a large city or kingdom you are, the more that you'll find people truly believe in their local superstitions. While someone in a large city might joke that a baby with a birthmark on their leg had a past life, someone in an isolated village might be so convinced that they introduce their daughter to you as their great-grandmother reincarnated. Also, DMs, this is a great opportunity for you to have some fun with your players by having your NPCs react strangely to something your players say or do whenever they introduce themselves. To throw a little twist on that old trope of someone doesn't like all dwarves or elves, instead, you can have someone shriek back in terror suddenly when your left-handed gnome tries to order a room for the night. Because shaking the hand of a left-handed gnome is a sign that your hair will soon start to turn gray. Or perhaps the players don't leave their tips in the ale mug that was served to them in, and that means that a local village spirit will come in the night to turn the keg sour. Of course, watching your players try and figure out their misstep is all part of the fun. So keep superstitions regional and keep them a secret until your players commit an egregious faux pas. And finally, tip number 5 is, well, I don't have a 5th tip. I think 4 is enough. So this week, I'm gonna mix things up a bit with a little challenge for you guys here in the community. What I want you to do is leave a comment with your best superstition, the best superstition you can come up with. I don't care if it's funny, if it's serious, or if it's funny. And what I'm gonna do here is pick out some of my favorites to include in next month's Taking 20 magazine, which, by the way, if you haven't heard about, we've just released the inaugural issue of the Taking 20 magazine. And most importantly, it's completely free. It's totally and completely free. We're thrilled about that. So this month's issue is jungle themed, and we have a new custom map, which is usable on your VTT of choice. We have a new monster, some new magic items for your games. We have additional articles on running games in the jungle. We have a call for aid segment by yours truly, and more than that. So I'll leave a link down in the description below where you can go snag your very own copy for free. If this is your first time here and you love role-playing games as much as I do, I'd love to have you subscribe. Every week I put out new videos on GM tips, player tips, tutorials, and more. So if that sounds like something you might be interested in, just hit that subscribe button down below and come join us. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Cody, and may your games be filled with awesome memories and even better friends. I'll catch you guys next time.
Yeah.